Hey, welcome to The Wrong End of the Snake, a webcast about audio, touring, and the relationships we have built between our road families. Tater and I have had an 18-year relationship on the wrong end of the snake with bands like Ted Nugent, Kid Rock, Slash, Stone Temple Pilots, Prophets of Rage, Iron Maiden, and most notably 10 years with Linkin Park. My co host, Kevin Tater McCarthy, is a world class monitor engineer with over 30 years in the business. I'm very proud to call him my friend and partner. He has 8 Top Dog Monitor Engineer of the Year awards and 2 Parnelli Monitor Mixer of the Year awards. I'm Ken Van Druten, aka Pooch. I am a front of house engineer with 3 decades in the music industry. I'm a 3-time Grammy nominated recording engineer. I have 8 Top Dog Front of House Engineer of the Year awards, and I'm a winner of the Parnelli Front of House Mixer of the Year award. Let's do a little housekeeping. Please use the chat window of the Zoom app to communicate amongst yourselves. If you are streaming from our YouTube channel and you want to be able to ask questions of our guests, register to be on the Zoom call for future episodes. Links to register are in all of our social media. If you have any questions for our guests, please use the Q&A button at the bottom of the Zoom app and ask in that window. We will answer as many as possible during the hour and then answer any leftover questions in our overtime Q&A episode that we release to the YouTube channel in a few days. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and social media. YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook is at Wrong End of the Snake. Tater, why don't you tell us about our guest this week?
All righty. Today, Lonnie Southall is the founder and CEO of My Brother's Keeper, a high-level security company that provides state-of-the-art security services for artists, venues, and tours worldwide. He's been in the business for over 20 years and has received many accolades along the way, including a Tourlink Top Dog Award. His clients include Bruno Mars, Shania Twain, Pink, Linkin Park, Khalid or Khalid, I'm not sure which one, Skrillex, and the Korean mega K-pop band BTS. The man that needs a very big belt to hold his wallet. I like to call him Big Money. Please welcome Lonnie Southall.
What's happening?
Yes.
What's happening?
Hey, Lonnie, how are you, man? Thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
I'm feeling less accomplished. I see all them plaques and stuff on you and Tater wall, and all I have is a Ric Flair build up here. And,
Nothing wrong with that.
And a signed football from Tom Brady. So I got catching up to do.
Yeah, but I ain't running my own security company either.
That's right.
So there you go.
I mean, you hang with Tater. Tater has one of the fattest wallets I ever seen in my life.
I'm just trying to be like you, Big Money.
Oh,
there's no money in there, though. You know that,
yeah.
right? It's
not like now.
And, not now. For sure.
Yeah, man. Listen, man. When you asked me to do this, I was more than honored that you guys consider me to do something like this. I love you guys. We've been around the world together, and
many times.
Not only that, we're good friends, but we brothers, and I consider you guys brothers. So, man, whatever. Let's have at it.
Excellent.
Oh,
thanks,
man.
Mike.
Thank you. Thanks so much, man. We feel the same way. Guys, we just as a little side thing, we met Lonnie on Linkin Park, and he was our head of venue security, amongst other things. And so, like you said, we spent a lot of time together, and he's gone on to do all kinds of amazing things. He owns his own company now. We're gonna get into all that. But Lonnie, I think our guys like to know like where people come from. Like how did you tell us a little bit about your early years? Like, tell us where you grew up and how you ended up where you are. And how did you get into the music business? What aspirations did you have at an early age or whatever?
Well,
tell us from the start.
Okay. Well, I grew up in South Central LA. I grew up in the same neighborhood where the Rodney King riots happened. So that's kind of like, I'm blessed and fortunate because where I come from back in the day, it was like gangs and stuff like that. Where 1 out of every 3 kids from where I'm from didn't live to see 21. So 21 was definitely a great accomplishment. So when it comes,
how did you make it out, man? What do you attribute to your Was it luck or what happened? Tell us.
A lot of it is definitely luck. 2 is moving around, and 3, my parents are very, they're very religious, so they did a lot of praying. But also, it was just like I knew it's either death or jail. Like when you run with gangs, stuff like that. It ain't too many retired drug dealers or gang members and stuff like that. So I just try to find a different way for myself. So what I did was I was going to school and I was playing football at Santa Monica College. And one thing people don't know about me is I'm a genius at common sense. So,
I got to write that one down. Hold on a second. I love that.
When it comes to logic and common sense, I am a genius, especially in a day where, common sense is a superpower these days. So, so what I did, I was like, man, I need to find a job that'll pay me to do my homework, right? That's genius. So I would go play football in the daytime at Santa Monica College, and at night, I go to LA Convention Center from 11 to 7 and do security, do my homework and watch these monitors. And so, but I hated anything had to do with security because when you're a big guy, every time somebody meets you, they're like, "Oh, you must be security." Like, no, I'm a ping pong champion. I don't know nothing about security. So it's just like I despise anything to do with security. So, but it was my end. Like I was just 11 to 7. I'm there every night, working on my degree, playing ball. And then, after a while, they'll come to me and like, "Hey, you want to be a supervisor?" I'm like, "Nope." And they'd be like, "Well, like, how much do it pay?" They're like, "Oh, you make this." I'm like, "Okay, I want it." Yeah. So before you know it, the opportunity presented itself for me to be director of security at the Great Western Forum in Inglewood before the Lakers and everybody went to Staples Center. And I was like, hell no, I don't want to do that. And I was like, "But how much do it pay?" They're like, "Oh, it paid this." I said, "Oh yeah, I'll do that." So when everybody left and moved to Staples, they were like, "Do you want to go to Staples?" I'm like, I don't think so. And then MPB came along and they said, "Well, you want to ever go on tour and start doing tours?" I'm like, "No." I said, "But what do it pay?" They told me the numbers, and it's 20 years later, I'm still touring. So that's it.
And
amazing.
Where did your football career end in Santa Monica College?
Pretty much, yeah. Because like what happened was, I just got bit by that money bug. It was just more one of those things like I'm trying to make money and I'm trying to survive, and so like pretty much, I had a couple of pro shots and stuff like that, and went to a combine, but I wasn't in love with football. Some people don't understand, like I like football a lot, but I wasn't in love with it. Like I wasn't the type of person, if I break my leg or break a finger, I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna go to rehab and I'm coming back." No, it's over. I quit. So I just wanted to make money and, start my life.
So it seems like maybe it was kind of just chance that you went to MBB, as far as meeting somebody there and getting into the music industry was not something that you were aspiring to. You were maybe more into sports and because there was the Lakers were playing at the Great Western Forum and all that, right?
Right. And the thing is, like, I was making my way through the ranks and not really knowing that I had attained all the knowledge to be there. Because you get these fears like, well, what if I don't know? But then you look back and say, wait, I did all this stuff. I do know what I'm doing. And so, and I didn't know this job even exists. So you can't even aspire to, be a venue security director when you don't even know it exists, So that had a lot to do with it too.
So people were choosing you and looking at you to be a security guy because you were just a big dude that was intimidating, right?
Uh-huh.
But did you have any training or how did you learn to be a guy that, besides the fact that you're intimidating, what were the steps that you took to be able to figure out how to be in charge of the security part of the Great Western Forum?
Okay, so I'm a God-fearing man, and in the Bible it say, knowledge and wisdom come from listening. So one thing about me is I don't proclaim to be great at nothing but listening. You know what I'm saying? So like, the Jim Digby's, the Joel Foremans, the Joe Sanchez, I can sit in the room with them guys and just listen. I don't have to even say nothing, and I absorb knowledge and I catch on very quick. So I would just go and observe and basically, and then I do a lot of like, I'll go learn, go take classes on my own, like terrorism and counterterrorism and active shooter stuff. Like I never stop learning, because I think once you get comfortable, it's over. You know what I'm saying? Like if you get comfortable, I don't care, like and whatever you do, if you get comfortable, the gig is up.
Yeah.
So I never
Totally, man. I mean, the thing that I notice about you, and we'll get into this later on about, how you're running your own company and all that stuff. But the thing I've always thought was amazing about you, and I've seen you work in a lot of different situations, was the way that you diffuse the situation, not by muscle and not by intimidation, by how big you are, but literally I've watched you like talk your way out of a situation or talk someone into being like, hey, calm down, everything's cool, however you handle it. And I always thought that was amazing. Most guys that are spend time working out and whatever, their first inclination is to throw a punch or whatever, and that was never what you did. So I'm just wondering, like, where that came from. Was it instilled in you, even from your parents, or like, where does that come from?
South Central LA. Being from LA, growing up in that type of environment, is you only stay alive out of respect. You only can move around from neighborhood to neighborhood out of respect. And one thing about me is I have respect for everybody. And if I put my hands on you, it's because I have no other option. I have exhausted every single possibility that I can think of. And the only way we're going to rectify this situation is me putting my hands on you. Like, it's nothing else I could do. So like, that's where it comes from. It comes from being from LA, because it's life or death. When you put your hands on somebody, you're going to war. It ain't just like, oh, I'm gonna hit you, and no, you might go get a gun, catch you the next day, and it's over. So you have to be able to, talk your way through it.
Really,
and it's nothing that bad where it's like, I gotta sit here and hammer you. You know what I'm saying? Like, whatever this dude I'm asking you to do, and I'm gonna leave you alone, and you're gonna enjoy your night, and that's what it's about.
And especially, excuse me, moving into the venue and band and personal security and stuff. And the years I've been in the business, I always remember the yellow shirts in the front row at the beginning. They'd just go to the local powerhouse gym, hire those guys for the night, and it was about them having fun beating on the kids, and it's changed 180 degrees from that to having to treat the fans with not only the utmost respect as fans, but as human beings, and helping them, not having a free-for-all on them when they go over the barricade. And I'm sure you've seen that aspect of it change too, and how the bands want you to treat the fans and their guests.
Right, and that's because of social media.
That's great.
That's the only thing that changed, social media, because now you can see, these people beating them up or how they treating their fans, and that's another thing. Like, I walk that fine line because most security guys be like, "Oh, I'm just here for the artist. I'm here for the artist," but it doesn't really work that way, because you have to understand you're getting paid by this artist because of the fans. You know what I'm saying? So it's a fine line, like you have to walk like, yeah, without these fans, we wouldn't be getting paid. So you have to treat them accordingly, like with respect, without going too far. But you got to let them know that they're people too. And in some like Linkin Park, they love their fans. They don't want you doing, they watch, they see everything. So you got to make sure, like, you're doing briefing with the local security, like, let them know, like, hey, let me deal. You got a problem? Let me deal with it, and things of that nature.
Yeah, because they were very adamant in the treatment of their fans and the safety of their fans, right? Because it wasn't really them getting in fights and stuff, just falling down, making sure everyone's up and all that kind of stuff, and not getting crushed. more of that kind, the barricade being secure and all those aspects.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Did you when you started, you got picked up by MBB and you um started touring the world, seeing, which I'm sure was like amazing for you after, coming from South Central LA, you're like, man, I'm going to go see the world. And that,
Right.
that's amazing. But was there a mentor there that kind of like taught you all the things, like, cause I'm sure, you didn't even know, what are the requirements of being a guy that's doing security in a venue, right? You only knew Great Western Foreman up to that point, right?
So MPB, they do a great job of like training. They have like templates and platforms of what to do and what to job. They got like checklists. They have a foolproof system of like basically like a plug and play. Like they hand you a book and say, okay, here go the outline, fill in the blanks. And it basically was like that. And then my first tour was Blink 82, Blink with Blink, and I had Gus Brant was out there. So it's always the guys like the Gus's, the Jims, the Joe Foremans, and Bobby Snyder. I've been fortunate. Stuart Ross. I've been fortunate enough to be work with some big guns in this business, and they had no, like, as long as you're not a high head or you're like a sponge and you don't talk and you just listen, they're going to give you all the knowledge that it takes to do the job, especially if they believe in you. Once they see you're not out here, chasing women and all that other stuff, they see that you're really about the job. They definitely, go help you, put you under the wing and take care of you.
And hopefully that's true with all not just security, but audio, lights, sound, video. Hopefully that, and I think that is true with almost every department on the road.
Right. And it's kind of, it's funny because like in security, you under a different microscope, when it comes to security. Like it can be a carpenter on a tour, and y'all know how this go. A carpenter can, have a different chick every night, if that's his thing, right? But the minute they see a security guy with a girl, they be like, "Oh, that's all he here for. He just chasing women." You're like, wait a minute. How does this go? You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot of politics involved, but it's like I tell my guys, I said, listen, when it comes to a tour, you're like, this is like a school. Like a tour is like a school, right? And the crew is like the students, and you're like one of the principal or the assistant principal. I said, now when you was in high school, you didn't go to the club and see the principal in the club with you partying. You didn't see that. So that's
Right.
why you don't need to be partying with the crew and all that stuff, because the next day when you try to tell them something, they're not gonna respect you because last night you was partying with me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just things of that nature you just have to pick up on.
Yeah, you have to be the adult in the room. And I notice, in a minute, let's get to maybe some people out there don't know the differences between being a venue security guy for an artist and also being a personal security guy for an artist. We'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
But I think you guys are held to a higher standard because you're so close to the artist. Like I, on purpose, became a front of house sound engineer to get away from artists. Like literally, it makes me uncomfortable to be around most artists. And so I'm like, I'll do my job. I'll be out here on my own little island, but like you got to deal with them like all the time. What's that like?
To be honest, man, they're just people. Like I treat them accordingly. Like they put their shoes on one foot at a time, just like me and you, and that's how I treat them. And sometimes, a lot of people is like, yes, sir, yes, sir. And I'm not that guy. I'm going to tell you, like, and if you don't like me for it, then that's fine. But at the end of the day, I'm going to be able to sleep at night telling you, like, no, you shouldn't have did that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm here out of your best interest. And like, if something happens to you, then, it happened to me also. Because the first thing they say is when something bad happened, well, who was security? That's the first thing they say. And so this is my livelihood too. How I feed my kids and, how I take care of my family and stuff like that. So it's bigger than just the artist, you know. So I always be upfront and honest with them, and if they don't like it, then get somebody else. So, like, and I'm
And
fine
then
with that.
what are, you know, I don't know if this is ever defined. Maybe it is. I don't, you know, I don't know how your contracts work or how your agreements work, but when you're doing artist security, what are your hours? I mean, are you really on the clock 24? I mean, when they
Absolutely.
need that peanut butter and jelly sandwich at 3 in the morning, if their personal assistant's not answering, you're getting the call.
And you don't mind either. You know, most of the time, if they calling you for the peanut butter and jelly sandwich, you have a great relationship with that artist, and it's the intangibles like that is going to keep you around. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like, if they comfortable enough to call you and say, "Hey, man, can you give me a peanut butter and jelly sandwich?" You know, like, or can you go to McDonald's? I need a double cheeseburger. Like,
Yeah.
you know, if they calling you for that, then you know that's part of your longevity. You know, like I'm gladly get up and go do that for you. I bring you
And
back free.
do you turn in the receit, or do you just pay that and they give you the money back?
Hell no. One thing I
Okay.
don't do is save millionaires money.
No concessions for millionaires. Yeah,
Oh
that's true,
no.
man.
Oh no.
What that is an example of a really good relationship with an artist. Have you ever been in a situation, and you certainly don't have to name names, of an artist where they were asking you to do things that were just like, you were like, this is ridiculous. Like, for instance, I used to work for this heavy metal act that the lead singer of that band would literally, we'd go to a bar and he would sucker punch somebody and run. And then the rest of us would be standing there like going like, come on, man, here's this dude. He's all pissed. He just got punched and we're about to get, And so I hated working for that guy because he was a pain in the ass, have you had that situation where your clients are expecting you to do things that are just, not right or whatever?
I wouldn't say not right, because at the end of the day, you know, it's my integrity and, you know, things of that nature that will not allow me to do it. But I'm very strict. Again, I'm kind of like yourself. I'm blessed in the fact of, you know, I have many people who believe in me. So I have the option now at this stage of my career to be like, you know what, this is not going to work for us. And I have no problem finding you another company or finding you another guy, but I'm not the guy for that. Like, if you want, like, I'm a big guy, right? So I do, my job is basically to make you stealth. If you don't want to be in the public, if you want to hit the back door, if you want privacy, then I'm your guy. But if you want to be, you know, amongst the paparazzi, or, you know, calling the paparazzi and telling them where you're going, and I got to knock over people and, you know, trying to act like you didn't call them or your publicist didn't call them, then I'm not your guy. You know what I'm saying? So it's about knowing, you know, your limitation and what you can handle, because all money is not good money, you know? So it's okay to be like, this ain't going to work for me, you know? And
Yeah, I've gotten like 3 quotes out of you today. I like this. Keep going.
Yeah, so it's good to be able to say, like, you know what? Because at the end of the day, it's more of a headache. You know what I'm saying? It's a unneeded headache that you done created for yourself for some money. And it's like, it's not really about that. Like, I love what I do. You know what I'm saying? Like, once it started to feel like a job, I quit. You know, like, so in 20 years, I've never worked. Like, I get to hang out with you guys and travel the world with you guys.
That can be
You
a
know?
job sometimes, let me tell you.
Sometimes picking up your wallet if you drop it at the job, but you know, like we're traveling the world with Linkin Park, you know, who got some of the best fans in the world. You know, we got the best crew, like some of the best crews in the world. You traveling the world, like what can you be? You know, what can be better than that? You know,
Totally.
and you getting paid to, and wait, you paying me to do this? No, I do the job for free. I charge you because I don't get to sleep in my own bed. You know,
That's
like,
right.
but yeah, that's it.
Right.
I always say I do the shows for free. They just charge me for being away from home and traveling. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. No, that's right.
sounds good. Let's go do it too, by the way.
Yeah, let's go do it. That
Come
sounds
on.
like a lot of fun. Oh man.
So let's take, like you said, let's take a step back, Pooch. Let's have them describe venue and personal, a little bit of the differences. We kind of jumped ahead of that and started talking personal and touched in venue a bit, but let's just so everybody gets the clarification on that.
Okay, so venue security goes like this. Like, let's say, like today, you and Pooch was gonna start a rock band, right? So if you went to the forum and did a show, and something happened, you guys are gonna get sued because you're liable for anything that happens at that show, right? So, and with venue security, we represent the artists. So we know we get there, we do an advance and make sure it's enough security. You know, like they have defibrillators, that they have EMS on site, because those are things you're not caring about. You know, you just want to get there and do a show and get that money and leave. You know, so we represent the artist in that aspect of, you know, just being the liaison between everything that's needed for the show that alleviates the liability off the artist. So we're an extension of the artist, basically. And when you're personal security, you're doing the protection, like making sure their movements from to and from, you know, you're setting up the cars and making sure that, you know, they're getting to and from safely. And that's the 24/7 job. If they call you at, you know, 3 o'clock in the morning, you got to get up and go no matter what, you know. So that's the difference. But
That's the private jet flying gig.
that's definitely that.
Don't get used to it, right?
Unless you Pooch, you know, you just fly private just because you
Man, that's pimping right there. Yeah, I always wonder where people like tour managers and assistants and security people get those numbers to call for the weird shit that artists want, right? You know, like where does that come from? You know, like where who do you call when you and the artist wants a helicopter 20 minutes from now?
Man,
You know what I mean?
what? That's the grace of God, man. I'm honest to God, because it's like, now that you mention it, it's like, yeah, where do those numbers come from? But it's just like over time, you know, like, okay, I met this guy, Reggie, he's in Macau, you know, like, so when you in Macau, something happened, you're like, hey, Reggie, remember me? Yeah. You know, like, I need this. Okay, I can make it happen. So it's over the years, you build these relationships with people that, you know, that can make things happen. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like I know enough powerful people and I have enough connections that shit, I can pull off anything. You know,
Now,
like,
when you talk about relationships, when you're going to these same venues and these same amphitheaters all around the world, you've got obviously have built up relationships with the local house venue guys, right?
yeah.
And over a period of time, I don't know if do those guys change out a lot, or do you see the same guys over and over, and they know, hey, Lonnie's here, I know he's going to want this, and this, and we're going to be good today, or is it different than that?
Yes, yes, and that's absolutely how it works. And you treat those guys with the utmost respect. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I talk to these guys like now. You know, I got my friend Joy who runs, you know, in DC at the arena, and Tim here at, you know, I stay in touch with these guys because those are the guys that make you look great. You know, like they
Yep.
definitely, you know, and I treat them because look, artists come and go. Like, just think about how many times you've been in certain arenas with so many different artists, right? So when I get there, I let them know, like, my loyalty lies with you, because we are the ones that make this business go round and round. I done came to this building 10 times with 10 different artists. Them artists are gone. But me and you are still here. So,
Right.
like, and that's where my loyalty lies with them, because if it's something I need, they're going to do it. When it's somebody else, they be like, no, we can't do it. They go just always, no, no, no. But with me, it'd be like, well, my artists want to see the players' dressing room, or they want to go to the practice court. Oh, Lonnie, anything you want, you know? And that's how
I
those
forgot. Yeah,
relationships, yeah, exactly. So,
forget about that stuff. Yeah.
yeah, my loyalty always lies with the venue, because artists come and go.
Yeah, it's about relationships, right? You know, and that's why we started this whole thing, this whole webcast was, you know, because of relationships and our, you know, relationship with you, for instance. You know, we've known you for so many years and toured all over the world, and we're thankful to have that relationship. Yeah, my I had an artist that a pop artist that asked for a white tiger. They wanted a white tiger, and in 20 minutes, I shit
Oh,
you
wow.
not, 20 minutes, there was a white tiger being walked into that venue. And I went, who the hell has a number to call to get a white tiger somewhere in 20 minutes?
Somebody knew the Tiger King, obviously.
Right.
No, but you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
you got to have like those kind of weird numbers for those requests, you know?
Exactly. Like we was in San Jose where our good friend Jason, what's Jason's last name?
Lemire.
Yeah,
Lemire.
Lemire.
Yeah.
So even like, you know, I had an artist was like, yo, I want to see the San Jose, the hockey team. I want to take a picture. I want to take a picture in the dressing room. So he asked his personal security, like, make it happen. The personal security was like, the building told him, no, that never happens. We'll never let, you know, we don't let nobody in there. So I went to Jason, was like, hey, my artist was like, you know, he said, I bet you Lonnie can make it happen. And they made a bet. And so he came to me and said, hey, I want to go take a picture in here. And I reached out to Jason Lemire. I said, hey, Jason, I need to make, oh, no problem. Come on. You know, and it's just, like you said, it's those relationships that, you know, that makes it happen.
And then going on with the relationship thing, but what is there the ultimate pass sheet out there that you don't get asked any questions on that people can follow? I see those peoples at the line there that they look at that pass sheet over and over and over again. Do you have a magic pass sheet now, or is it still a hassle every day?
Man, it's really, to be honest with you, is the less passes, the better. You know, because like once you add too many passes, well, this person at the back gate or wherever, they don't make enough money to give a damn. You know, like
totally.
Their attention span is like 5 pass deep. Anything after 5 pass, you had wristbands, colors, and I don't give a damn at this point. As long as you got something, come on.
But I mean, even for somebody kind of paying attention, when there's a lot of passes and all the list of what every pass does and all that, it you know, and they got a different one kind of every day or every other day. It does get a little confusing. I'm sure it's even when you explain it.
Absolutely, and the problem is, we stuck in the '80s mentality. You know, like when it comes to passes, like we're trying to make everybody feel good, but in all actuality, it's not shit going on backstage. They
Right.
this big party,
Exactly, that's true.
and that's what it is. Instead of, you know, we're trying to still make people feel good, but it's like, listen, if your job is at McDonald's, right? This is our job. Right?
Yeah.
And we're working backstage and you work in front of the house. If you work at McDonald's, we're not hanging out while you're doing fries. We're not just hanging out like, oh, what's going on in here? Like, you know, like this is our, you know, this is our job. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that people are back here literally working, but they had this conception that, oh, it's, you know, a party and it's this and it's that, and it's not that. So instead of us saying like, okay, you have an all access pass, a VIP pass that walk people in afterwards, and a media pass. That's it. You know, people don't want to do that. They want to make everybody feel like they're important. So,
yeah,
that's it.
Yeah.
Hey, tell us a little bit about the hierarchy that happens in an arena show, for instance. You know, I've seen different bands do different things. I know Linkin Park, I think we were traveling with like 4 guys, traveling with 4 venue people. At one time. And then how many venue people on average for an arena show? And how does that hierarchy happen? Like, you know, how are you're kind of representative of the artist. And so you have to oversee 40 people, 50 people. How does that work? Tell us how that works.
It all depends on the artist. So like some artists, you know, you take a Rage Against the Machine, you know, you're going to have to, you know, you're gonna need a lot of security because of the crowd surfing and the moshing and things of that nature. Plus, they're a very safe, conscious band.
Yeah.
So it all depends on the artist. Like, and some artists, like, they have low threat levels. So it's all about the threat assessment of, you know, of the crowd. You know, like Bruno Mars crowd is like, you know, 5 to 75. You know, and nobody ain't trying to get kicked out. They want to, you know, enjoy the concert. So you can you can hire a lot less security, you know, because you know it's not going to be a problem. So it's all based upon, you know, the level of that band, you know.
Yeah, there's not like a whole lot of people coming over the barricade at a Bruno Mars concert, is there?
Exactly. I mean, we have had it, but that's
Right.
because he's singing to them directly. Like, oh,
Right.
he's singing to me. Like, oh, okay. Yeah. So that's basically what it is. Like some, like Pearl Jam. For instance, they're very safe conscious, and they want to make sure they have as many eyes, on the crowd that people, don't get hurt and things of that nature. So it's all the band's prerogative and what they want willing to spend and justify within reason.
And that's what it is, really, when the show's going on, right? Is just eyeballs on the people, right? I mean,
Right.
really keeping an eye, and you can only watch a section for so much. You got to have more people to watch all those bodies, especially when you're talking bands like Pearl Jam and obviously even Bruno Mars. Even the threat level might be a minimum risk. You're talking bands that are drawing sold out maximum capacity shows.
Right. And then in reality is like, you always at the mercy of the crowd anyway. So unless you got 20,000 fans in the arena, unless you got 20,000, security, you just got to do smart deployment and, prepare.
Now, you were talking a bit about respect and how you respect the local guy and get along with that. Now, I'm going to ask you a question about respect, because I don't know how many years it's going on back. I'll say 5, but knowing me, I get lost in years. It's probably 10. We've started to get into the venues. The crews have started to have to go through metal detectors, baggage screening, all that kind of stuff. And I know when it first started happening, we were all a little pissed off with it and didn't want to do it. And it was an inconvenience. Hey, we're working here. We're better than this, or whatever we thought. You know what I mean? And those poor guys are just trying to do what they're hired to do, right? I mean, they're there to protect you, really. Have you seen that everybody's attitude ease off that now and kind of understand that?
Um, for the most part, I have, but that's always a touchy subject for me because it's like, these people are doing their job. You know what I'm saying? And you're lucky that they care enough to do the job per se. And at the end of the day, it is for your safety. So
Yes.
the extra 3 minutes to 5 minutes, like who in the hell is in that big of a rush to get to work?
I get it.
Exactly.
Like, no, really think about it. Like, we're not trying to get to work, that quick. You know what I'm saying? Slow your ass down and do what these people ask you. They don't want to bother. Like, the last thing they want to do is bother you.
Yeah.
And then now you're going to make the situation even worse because they're doing what we asked them to do. So, like, if I had to get involved, then I take that more personal than anything because it's really like, shit, the boss telling us to do it and we're asking you to do it to protect the integrity of this tour. It's as
Yes.
simple as that. And, in 3 minutes ain't going to kill you, take the
And
belt
that
off.
puts you in a weird position too, because now you got to defend somebody. You got to say, well, it's our guy and whatever, and puts you in this weird position, right?
Well, in a sense, but like again, like man, every venue like I go into, I be open and honest. Like that's definitely the key. To my success. I be open and honest. If it's gonna be a shitty night, when I sit in my security meeting, I tell the venue, I say, hey, listen, I've been coming here for years. Tonight is gonna be a shitty night. I said, but I'm on your side. We're gonna go to war together. I ain't never left you guys by yourself, but I'm letting you know. And if it's gonna be a great night, I'll be the same way. I go in there with all honesty and say, well, tonight will be a win for you. You guys gonna get paid and it'll make up for the last time I was here when I brought you that shitty gig. So as long as you be honest with them, like they're and prepare them for like whatever's going to happen. You get like a hip hop tour where people don't want to work passes and they want to push past like stuff like that. You have to prepare them, and then you do smart deployment. Like if you have that kind of tour, then you have police officers, police present right here, and make sure that they're not putting a 75-year-old lady at the back door or the dressing room, things of
Right.
that nature. You need to make sure and put police presence and things of that nature to help the arena out, in that aspect. So that's what it's about.
Managing expectations, then, really.
Absolute
Yeah.
1000%.
Yeah.
So what has changed from, I mean, you've been doing this now for 25 years, right? I mean, the world has changed in that time, right?
Especially
So
security-wise.
especially security wise. So, once we started having terrorist things happen, like the Ariana Grande thing, and
Right.
I imagine that your world changed drastically. And is there now more training that happens with your guys? We'll get into here in a minute, because I definitely want to get into how you own your own company now and have
we got to
employees.
get into that. Yeah,
We got to get into that. But I'm just saying, what's changed? What is different about your job than it was 20 years ago?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, because Bruno actually we did like 3 or 4 shows in that same arena right before before Ariana Grande.
Wow.
We just had left in and went to London, and that Manchester Man Arena, the guy Keith, who's the head of security, they have a great staff, So, but how it changed was like you said. Now I'm going to counterterrorism school and terrorism school and learning about, and then after that it was active shooters. So now it's like, active shooters training, active shooter training, Alice training, training here. Okay, that's cool. Now we got COVID. So now we got to figure out, okay, what's going to be the solution for this? Now you're going to have to go to COVID training. And I'm looking at myself like, damn, like how bad do I still want to do this? Like,
that's a lot of training, man. Yeah, I know.
Like, it's like, and at the end of the day, you just want, people to have a good time, man. Like you want, and I don't want it to feel like a job, but it's just like, I care about people. So I'm obsessed with people's safety, and you're going home exactly how you came. I'm obsessed by that. I just want to see people safe. I don't want nothing happening, on my watch, and I'm just, obsessed by that.
So how do you? Well, first of all, let's talk about how you changed from working for a company and then started your own company. Tell us how that came about.
Well, all right, Tater, you got your pen ready? I'm gonna give you another one. All right. So in life, you're doing one or two things. You either living your dreams or somebody else's dreams. You know what I'm saying? So me working for them was me living their dreams. But me working for myself is like me living my dreams. And you
Nice.
just get to a point where you realize, like, okay, I've done everything that I could do here. And it's time to, spread your wings and step out on faith and think that, some of the clients that you've worked with over years, that they trust you enough to, to hire you. And that's basically what it is. I talk to Pete, and I talk to them guys all the time. I love them guys. They'll always be family to me. And it was, nothing bad or, nothing like that. But it's just like, everybody worked for somebody at one point in time.
Yeah.
So, and
Sure.
that's really what it is. It's just like, and then too, I just wanted to grab a bunch of guys coming up who are really hungry, but teach them more about the business aspect and different things that I didn't learn when I was there. Like you always felt like certain things you don't like, you try to make it better. When you start your own, you're like, okay, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. And like me over here at MBK, we try to teach legacy. Like we try to teach, that okay, security is cool, but what about, these artists are rich already. We're not rich. So you have to create different streams of income. Like security can't be the only stream of income. So we try to teach more of that nature of like, survival. Like, when something like this happens, say like 2009, we had a recession in the country. You remember everybody had tours going out, and then all the tours was canceling because of recession. I almost lost everything behind that, house, everything. So it learned is like, okay, if you have one income, you one step away from poverty. So it's just like teaching things like that and passing it down to my guys. So like, don't look at what I have, create something for yourself. And I'm going to help you do that. Like, I'm gonna help you create whatever you're looking for, but don't watch my plate. You say, well, Lonnie got this and you got that, but you don't see the other 13 jobs Lonnie doing that, you know. And so that's basically what it is. It's like, you know, teaching legacy and teaching, you know, like, you know, constant growth, you know.
So that's one of the things when we started doing this webinar, is we wanted to have people on that just didn't do, I want to say, I don't want to say just did one job, but the one job thing. We wanted to have people on that started out as like you know, a lighting person, then owned a lighting console, then became, you know, had a whole lighting company, how they took that job and multiplied it and increased their incomes, because you know, you're not going to be a millionaire you know, being a roadie of any type. You know what I mean? You got to have, like you say, more than one income, and you got to parlay that stuff on and on and on. And we kind of want to do this to tell other people how that's possible in this industry. And you're one of those success stories. Now, but did one artist or any couple artists say, you know, Lonnie, that they give you that boost to get it going, that first account to, I think I can get this going. This guy's got faith in me.
Well, I think if you have like a Bruno Mars or a Drake in your back pocket, you know, and you know you have those relationships, I'm pretty sure that it makes it make you more secure when you do step out. You know, it'll definitely that. You know, I know that, you know, I have great relationships, and I know that, you know, like, again, like my relationships, you know, not even the artists. I feel like every one client that you have should bring multiple clients if you do the job right. So, you know, working with Joe Foreman on Drake, when he took over Bruno, you know, that's how I got to, you know, to Bruno. You know, working with Joe Sanchez on Rihanna brought, you know, so many other gigs, and Chris Connors, and brought to Shania Twain and Skrillex, you know, and that's just how it goes. So, you know, if you do your job, you know, it'll keep bringing in different opportunities for other people.
And giving a shout out, because you're still friends at NPB, and give a shout
Yeah.
out to Pete Beadle, and
Yes.
all that. And I think, you know, me and Pooch have also worked at companies and moved on, and you can't burn those bridges. You're going to need them at some point, or need their help, or they need your help, vice versa. You got to keep all those relationships intact and keep looking forward.
And then, like, yeah, say like Pete, man, we just talked. He's down in Oklahoma City, and I call him Mr. Miyagi, because I learned so much. I learned so much from Pete. You know, 16 years of being at NPB, and half the stuff, it was just like, I always to ask myself, you know, like, even when I get in a crunch or a jam now, I'll be like, it's two people, Jim Digby and Pete Beadle. I was like, what would Pete do in this situation? What would Jim do? Because, you know, Jim, I don't know if you ever read one of Jim's emails. Like, Jim is one of the most, like, his emails is like, this shit is sexy. You know, you be like, damn, I just be sitting there critiquing his emails like, this is a work of art. You know what I'm saying? Like,
every one of his emails, yes.
Yeah, very detailed.
Like, yeah, you couldn't just say, go to the store. You had like,
Yeah.
you went around the block and you seen all the trees and the mountains, you'd be like, damn, this is incredible. So yeah, but no, that's what it is, man. I'm definitely a student. I never stop learning. I don't think I don't proclaim to know it all. You know, like, I'm just like a sponge, like everybody else should be in this industry. And you know, you can learn something new every day if you keep your mind open to it, and that's it. That's all I proclaim to be. Like I said, a great listener.
Fantastic.
Can you give some advice to someone? All right. So I think the biggest problem that people have as a hurdle in their life to going to the next level of things is people feel paralyzed, and they just don't know how to take that step to, you know, to greatness, right? They feel like a situation that you were in where you were working for a security company, you know, everything was cool, you were making money, whatever. And you talk about how you know, making money for somebody is different than making money for yourself. That's definitely motivation.
Right.
But what stopped the paralysis for you? What made you go, you know what? I'm going to do this, and I'm going to make it happen and do whatever I can to make it happen.
Confidence to do that. Yeah.
I think the confidence just comes from the years of experience. And then you also know that, Tommy, you start to think like you at MPB, right? But you know that, okay, these certain clients are calling MPB to get you, you know, and you start to think after a while, you're like, wait a minute, they're calling MPB for me. Why can't they call me directly?
Right.
Like, and you start to think about it, but then you go through this phase where it's like, well, is this being disloyal, or what is this wrong, or But then you
Yeah.
start to think about it. Well, they work for somebody else, and long as you be upfront, they should understand. If they really care about you, your development as a person, then they will understand, and they definitely understood. Because everybody, like I said, worked for somebody, and they had to break off and do their own thing, and it's the same, the circle of life.
And especially with the times we're in now, you feeling any pressure as a business owner, and you've got employees, and
I feel a lot of pressure because it's really like we just don't like we're in a spot right now where we don't know what the hell's going on. It'd be different if somebody said Live Nation came to us and say, okay, September next year, everything's gonna be good. We got tours lined up starting next year in September. You have something to shoot for.
yeah,
Then you can give these guys some hope. But right now it's like I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
Like let's go, drive Uber or something, or do whatever you can, and to survive this. And then, we know the business is gonna pick back up, and I always say, every setback is a setup for something greater. So like the comeback could definitely be greater, but you have to be able to weather this storm, which we are weathering it together.
Yeah.
that is true. Now, speaking of all that, do you think there's going to be? I always talk about jobs that you start off as a security guy, now you got to be a counterterrorism guy, and you've got to take all these classes and all that stuff. Do you think with the new health concerns that are coming, right? I'm
Yep.
sure you're forecasting for like, are they going to dump something else on your plate now to maybe part of this? Do you think you're going to be checking temperatures, or you think there's going to be any something else dumped on your plate now because of this?
Honestly, I do, and I think I would want that, because I trust me. Like, so are you going to want that? I trust myself, and I think that, and I think I was telling Pooch this the other day. How many times you go get on? We go to fly, and they say, "Oh, it's a delay because we need to clean the plane," right? And so then, but when you get on the plane's still dirty. You still got the napkin in the back seat of the back of the,
Yeah.
you got the booger napkin up in there. And
Yep.
you're like, oh shit. So it's gonna have to be like somebody going that's a part of your tour that's going to these arenas or something like that to make sure that these, you got the micro kinetic machines going through, making sure all the production offices and dressing rooms, like that's gonna be somebody's job. And of course, like, the tour is not going to trust the building, to do it, so it's just things of that nature you have to think about, that's going to definitely come down the pipe.
There
Especially like
may there
like
may be another
sheds.
position like a
Yeah.
touring position of medical officer or something, somebody's that's gonna
Exactly.
yeah.
Because like, okay, today you guys in LA, so now the medical people is in Sacramento, make it because you got to show there. You go in there tomorrow to make sure that the office is, the venue gonna say it's done, but you're not gonna trust that. Like Jim Digby is not trusting that the venue, did the job, so he's gonna have somebody go and make sure that it's done. Like
Yes.
for his team, that touring personnel. So then when you get there, they off to the next city, things of that nature. But it's definitely coming.
Well, people forget the turnaround time, especially in these sheds. It's not long. I mean, one band's rolling out at 2, 3, depending on how many trucks in the morning. The next one's coming in at 6 or 7. There's also a time crunch of getting that done.
Right.
Like these venues turn, even the arenas, even from a concert to basketball to hockey, back to a concert. I mean, they turn over quick. So just the logistics of having people to get that done it's gonna be tough.
Right. And it's the same like social distancing. That's gonna be that's part of social distancing. You can't book like back to back shows like that. That's just it's gonna mess up routing and other things. But again, it's one of them things where you have an artist, you have a promoter, You know, you have a venue, and nobody want to assume liability for somebody getting sick. And you
No.
know, America's very litigious. You know, they can't wait to sue you for something. You know, somebody will sue you. So it's just like
Oh yeah.
you want that responsibility. You know,
Yeah.
and it's coming.
It's coming.
So if there's somebody watching today who doesn't know anything about being a security guy, like what do you look for in your employees? What are you looking for someone coming to apply to work for you in a security guy? Do they need to have some sort of training, or what is it that you look for in a person?
Patience. You know, I look for the key thing is patience, number one. I look at how eager they are to learn. A lot of people nowadays, like, you know, shit. I was at MPB for 5 years before I did my first world tour. You know, now people nowadays, they come in today and want to do a world tour, get back home and want to go back on a world tour. You know, like their expectations of the job, like they haven't put in the time, they don't put in the dues. And it's like, you know, you got to put your dues in. So like that's what I look for, people who understand and you know, and who's not here to trying to be, you know, in the limelight. You know, it's a bunch of things I look for, but that's key is patience. You know, you got to be willing to learn, and you have to be a team player because this is definitely a team atmosphere. You know, and you can't be like selfish or you can't be like that's not my job because a million things you do on tour is not your job, but you just do it for the good of the project.
Totally.
So,
And where do
100%.
you source your employees from? Is it mostly like who you know, friends of the people that already work for you, or where do you
exactly.
use
So
you guys?
we try to run it like, I mean, this might sound crazy, but it's kind of like the mob. You know?
All right.
No, literally, like, because it's like if somebody bring you to the table, then they're more compelled to feel responsible for you. So like here is just like, okay, I had this guy. Okay, you go work with somebody, two or three different guys when we come through, and they say yes or no, and then you go to the next step, you know, of the process, and then you know if something happened, then whoever brought you in probably take you out. Like, but no, that's basically how it goes. You know, it's more like you know when you bring them to the table to eat with us you know, you basically putting your life on this guy the same because it's our livelihood. And if
Right.
you mess up an account, you not only you mess up that one account, you messed up two accounts really. So it's just like, you know, you have to be careful like who you bring to the table.
So do those guys are maybe guys that work at a local place and build relationships with your guys, or I'm trying to tell a younger kid, how does he develop those
Oh,
relationships to get into the place where
yeah,
you can see him?
yeah, absolutely. So what you want to do is like you want to kind of like go to your local arena and just get experience. You know, like learn the backstages and learn while you know different parts of the arena security, and that's what I look for. You know, you don't have to be know it all, but it's just like you definitely have to have some kind of knowledge of of egress and different things of why do you have to keep fire lanes clear and things of that nature. And then sometimes, like, Tater sent a guy to me, Jeremy, sent me, like, come on, like, Tater is not going to send, like, I trust him with my life. I know he's not going to recommend somebody to me that's like, you know, that's terrible or he don't trust. And Jeremy, like, he came and worked, a couple times with three or four different guys, and he's a part of our family. You know what I'm saying? So like he represented himself well, and once it's pick up, he'll be touring too. But that's how it works. It's really like, you backstage. I don't know where he met Tater at, but
drag racing connection, believe it or not.
See, he met Tater. Tater sent me his resume. I flew him to Vegas. Flew him a couple times. He worked, and I was gonna put him on Shania Twain, and she just so happened, to cancel her shows because of the pandemic. But he's a great guy, and that's just like how the guys end up coming, things like that. So,
I knew you'd give him expert tutelage. I knew that. So,
yeah, absolutely. He's a good kid.
Well, it's just like everything else in this business. I keep telling people it's about relationships. It's about who and developing a relationship with someone and developing that relationship over a long term, because you never know how someone in this industry might help you, to get somewhere.
Right.
So,
And that's
man,
why I say treat everybody with respect, because today, you're a sound engineer, next day you're the tour director, and that person always remember, like, okay, I need to hire somebody from security. Well, let me get Lonnie, because, he treated me with respect when I was just a tour director, or I was a dressing room coordinator or whatever. And that's really how it works.
In life.
Yeah, that's how it works in life in general. Unfortunately, we're coming down here to the end, but there's a question that we always like to ask our guests. So we'll go ahead and ask you, if you could turn back time and talk to your 18-year-old self, what would you tell your 18-year-old self?
Whew. That's a good question. I would tell my 18-year-old self, save every penny you make.
Especially for COVID, right?
Yeah, definitely. I honestly can say, man, I've lived a truly blessed life. Sometimes I know it's God. I know it's not me and not by my design. And but I know it's God for me to be. I ended up at N1 basketball, right? And it was because I prayed. Like, I didn't know how I was going to end up there. But I used to go, I was like, I got to be a part of this. And I prayed every day. And before you know it, I'm at N1 basketball doing a tour, So I know that's not me. And it's like, I'm truly blessed in that aspect. So, but save money, definitely.
Save your money and do the right investments. I always tell younger kids, buy real estate when you're young,
Yes.
I wish that I had purchased a home when I was 21 years old, because I waited to purchase a house until I was 35 or something, or 33,
And invest in stocks too, like I was terrified of stocks because I don't want to give my money to nobody I can't choke.
Yep.
It's like, if something happened, I can't choke Apple. Like something happened to my money. So it's just like, but just learning, stuff like that about stocks and investing, things of that nature.
Well,
Awesome.
What was your quote again? You can't, having one income's going broke. What is that one?
Oh, if you have one income, you're one step away from popoverty.
I'm gonna go back and rewatch this and make sure I write all these down, because I need them in my arsenal.
the Lonnie wisdoms. Come on. Oh man. Well, hey, listen, man, thank you so much for coming and being a part of this. I know, the hour just flies by, and we'll try to get to some more questions in the question and answer part of this. And so guys, look for that coming up in the next few days. But thanks, Lonnie, for being here. We sure do appreciate you.
Thank you, Lonnie. Great seeing
you. It's an honor and a pleasure, man. I appreciate you guys. And man, I love you guys. So thank you for having me.
Thanks, man. Hey guys, next week on Wrong End of the Snake, it's Adam Rumor and Lorenzo Errico. It's a twofer. Adam is currently the director of fan engagement and digital marketing at Warner Records, working with a roster of artists that include Linkin Park, Michael Bublé, My Chemical Romance, Disturbed, Avenged Sevenfold, Mastodon, Liam Gallagher, Goo Goo Dolls, and many, many more. Originally from Italy, Lorenzo is currently based in Berlin and overseeing marketing operations and special projects for the German market across Universal Music Group's international talent roster. Both of these gentlemen have overseen strategic marketing and social media for the mega band Linkin Park, as well as running their fan club, LP Underground, which has become a marketing model for many artists in today's online world. So we're looking forward to that. It's another couple of guys that Lonnie and Tater and I have toured the world with.
Absolutely.
And done all those summits with.
Oh, man. These two. Yeah, that's it. These two guys, if you want to learn anything about the record industry side of this and marketing and how to market your band or whatever, come see us next week, because those are the guys. So
they're
again, thank
handsome.
you, Lonnie. We appreciate it. Thanks, Tater. And you guys have a great week. We'll see you next week.